Hello and welcome to the 5 minutes to pass your exam for audit and assurance. The expectation at this stage is application and analysis. These requirements are the way you need to communicate and apply your knowledge in the exam. They are a list of verbs that you need to ensure that you apply the appropriate response to in your exam question. When presented with an exam question, you should have an easy process on how to convert this into an answer that will get at least 50% of the marks. My suggestion would be 1. Read the question carefully. Take your time in thinking about an approach and solution. If you start writing too quickly, you will miss key points and marks. And remember, answer the question asked. 2. Cover the whole syllabus, but concentrate on the key areas that I discuss later. 3. Make sure you are applying a solution to the scenario. A good way of doing this is making sure that each recommendation or suggestion you make can be tied into an issue identified or highlighted in the case study or scenario. If not, it is not relevant to the solution. And 4. Pay careful attention to the requirements. There may be more than one action required to be completed. It is important to know what you are facing when going into your exam. This is a 3-hour 10-minute exam with the first 10 minutes allocated to reading the CBE instructions. All questions are compulsory, so planning and time management are vital throughout the exam. Section A is worth 30 marks and is 15 objective test case questions. Be strict with your time and don't allow a negative impact for completing your constructive response questions. Section B is 1 question worth 30 marks and 2 questions worth 20 marks each. These questions are constructive response questions requiring the use of a text editor. Not only is question practice important, but practice using the CBE format is also key. These can be done on the LearnSignal platform. Suggested areas of focus are knowledge questions, planning and risk, internal controls, substantive testing, and reporting. Now we will look at some of the specific advice for the key areas. For planning and risk, there are issues with students in the areas of ratios, knowledge areas such as risk identification, in which students struggle to identify the specific risk, not the general point. They're not adequately explaining the risk. There's no reference to assertions or areas in financial statements, or the audit response must address the issue identified. And there's also confusion regarding auditor versus management responses. Moving on to internal controls, there are common issues around key controls versus deficiencies, not clearly explaining the implication, recommendations not addressing deficiency, impractical recommendations, and weak tests of control. When looking at substantive testing, regular errors occur when solutions are not tailored to the scenario, or a generic list of tests is provided. A lot of times tests are too vague. For example, it's a source without an action, or there are an insufficient number of tests recommended for the marks on offer. Finally, we will look at audit reporting. Key areas that could be improved are failing to discuss the issue adequately, not providing options for adjusted or non-adjusted items, or lack of understanding as to when an unmodified opinion would be appropriate. So I would recommend that you look through all of these areas and make sure that you're not making those mistakes when you're practicing or on the day of your exam. So there is Audit and Assurance exam in 5 minutes. Apply this advice throughout your study and use for each question during exam bootcamp, and you will give yourself a great chance of passing your exam. Pass rates are generally around 40%, so this is a difficult exam to pass. Don't take a chance. Follow this guide and you should be able to leave Audit and Assurance in the past. All the best.